Thank you very much, Dr. Amanamalai. Thank you very much, Professor Som, for the beautiful invitation. And I'm so humbled to be speaking to such wonderful leaders and gurus. And I was told that we have got leaders and masters and teachers from all over, Dubai, India, and of course, Malaysia. So, first and foremost, I think what I would like to share with you is not theoretical concepts because I think there's just so much available. I think what Sunil can tell you is nothing compared to what our most of our common relative will be able to tell you. He is none other than Uncle Google. So our Google Chacha, Mama, Taya, whatever you want to call it, will actually give you all the definitions. Will also tell you the theoretical concepts. But I would like to share with you is something that my team and I rather develop to share with corporate leaders, to share with organizations, communities over the last 2 years, especially when the pandemic hit. I think none of us was spared. 80% of my business is out of Malaysia. I travel so much for work and all. And there I was suddenly locked in my four walls, looking at three different monitors and speaking to two different, devices at any one point of time. So that's where I realized there was a need for this whole positive psychology to be intensified. And in Malaysia, positive psychology is not very, very sort of eminent and prominent at this point of time. We did a lot of things to try and bring that to the country. So if I just bring my slide up once. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So, like we mentioned, the topic is building a happier culture. Then the question comes is it the culture at the workplace? Is it the culture of our own lives? Or is it the culture of our family? Or whether it's the culture of community? So I decided to keep this conversation very generic from a perspective where you could use these tools, techniques, ideas that I'll be sharing with you in every single aspect of your life. Because at the end of the day, when you talk about positive psychology, it's all about how do we flourish, how do we thrive as individuals, as leaders, as community, and grow ourselves in a very, very positive and exciting way. So, in positive psychology, if I could just very quickly introduce to you the framework, it's known as the PERMA model by Martin Seligman, right, who is based in University of Pennsylvania. So, Prof. Seligman, when he came up with this PERMA model for positive psychology, it was aimed to cover 5 key areas. One, the P is positive emotions, E engagement, R positive relationship, M meaning, and A accomplishment. What does these 5 things mean, right? Bottom line is you want to make sure that everything that we do actually creates positive experiences, positive traits, and also positive institution. That's the 3 key pillars of positive psychology. Now, what is meant by positive emotions? Positive emotions are simply anything and everything that you and I can do to really fill our heart and our soul with joy, gratitude, and happiness and peace and all that. Engagement is all about trying to ensure that we keep engaged. There are many at times I know during the whole COVID period, especially when we are having workshops, there are people virtually available, but actually mentally and physically they were somewhere else, right? And I'm sure you have experienced the same where you're juggling between a few different things. So your mind, your heart, your soul, your full presence is not there. So engagement is all about being 100% present. To an example that I could quote, when we are eating, we are actually eating with so much of comfort and peaceful mind, just focusing on the food, really knowing exactly what is the flavor of the food, what is the kind of possible spices that has been put in our food. But because we have become so busy and caught up in this rat race of life, sometimes we miss out mindfulness, and that's also a form of engagement. Then you talk about relationships. How much of time are we actually spending with people, building genuine, authentic relationships? 80% of relationships today are very, very virtual and very superficial. Last time, I still remember people writing letters, birthday cards, Deepavali cards, sending them as gift to us. Now all you get is a standard Google image, which is copy pasted from one place to 200 different WhatsApp groups and maybe 5,000 other contacts of ours. That is not meaningful relationship. You can be, you to really look at it. Then when you talk about meaning is all about really trying to understand the bigger purpose of our life, because we came to this world naked. When we die, we will literally be going naked. Then the question is, what is our bigger purpose? What is the bigger call of who we are and why are we here on earth? Right? So when you're able to connect to your bigger purpose, whatever that may be, very personal to each and every one of us, that means you are living a meaningful life. And finally is accomplishments. Little things, very, very little things that you are able to celebrate on a day-to-day basis, creating that happy joy moment. And that's what this whole PERMA model for well-being is about actually. So as a little gift for those of you beautiful people who are here today, I'll be sharing with you, Dr. Som will send you an email later and share with you this little 30 days activation book, right? So this 30 days activation guidebook was developed by my team at the Positive Performance Academy. That's one of my subsidiary companies. And the objective there was to really reach out to people, help them to truly go within themselves and really start flourishing and thriving from within. So what you will need to do, okay, and this is personally a choice, but an invitation to just for once do something different in life. For once, just take 30 days and spend a couple of minutes every day for yourself, for your own personal well-being, and do this, right? So this is an example that we have given you in the book, right? This is the exact page from the book actually. What we want you to do is just every day do one thing that is just something that you're probably not done, or just do something for yourself. So simple things like, really spending time and enjoying the coffee rather than rushing to breakfast. Going and having lunch or dinner and then suddenly looking at the table next door, one old uncle or one young kid is there just paying for the meal and walking away, gift of love. Little activities, little things that you could do. And after that 30 days, whatever you want to do is over, then every day after you have finished, then write down what was your personal reflection and which element of the PERMA model you think that you actually had. So if you think that, by treating somebody, it gave you joy, it gave you the positive emotion, then you just put P. So in 30 days, our hope is to inspire you to activate where this becomes a lifestyle, where every day you would like to just spend 10, 15, 20 minutes doing something positive for yourself or for your family or for somebody that you care and love, or it could be absolutely somebody random. After the 30-day period, we would like to invite you to do one final reflection on what was your life before the activation and how is your life after the activation. And we can almost give you an assurance, given that we have done this with no less than probably 2,000 people in the Asia region, with my clients in Philippines and all that, you will see tremendous positive change and improvement. You will feel a lot more happier. You will feel a lot more rejuvenated yourself. So this is going to be a little booklet that we'll be sending over to you in soft copy, of course. And Dr. Som will send that later. All right. So this is just to set a little bit of what positive psychology is about, and what are those little activations that is available, and we'd like to share this little gift with all of you. At the end of the day, right, everything boils down to one thing: how much do you truly love yourself? Because the first step to positive well-being, to being happier in life, is to be able to truly be happy within, not superficially. A lot of people pretend to be busy. A lot of people go on social media and post photos, holidaying here, holidaying there, and then suddenly 1 year later you find out they committed suicide, right? That's not happiness. Real happiness is where you don't have to tell anybody, it doesn't have to even appear on social media, but yet you are genuinely happy. So the first step to managing your mental well-being is self-love. That's why you see that little child there, in that image. That's the child that you and I need to bring about. Let's throw away all these titles that we have and credentials that we have and all that, and just be ourselves, right? Remember, you matter, your well being matters, and your life matters. So, to make it very easy for you to remember, what are the little things you could do? And like I said, this is not going to be a theoretical session because theory, we can easily go to our relative called Uncle Google. I'm going to share with you a little framework that I developed, like I said, 2 years ago when pandemic was at its peak, called the RESPECT model. And this is a very simple well-being toolkit that if you can do, will fit beautifully into the PERMA model and will definitely bring about the positive happiness and joy in your life, right? So just to keep it simple, easy to remember, I called it the RESPECT model, RESPECT. So the question number one is, what is R? R are reflections. How many of us actually, right, have time to just sit with ourselves, to spend time just doing nothing but reflecting about what have we been grateful in life, for an example? How many of us actually do gratefulness exercise every day without fail? Can you go into the chat box? If you do, just say yes. And if you don't do, you can actually say no, so we know what is the ratio that we are looking at, right? Because one of the easiest way to create that positivity in ourselves is to be able to spend maybe 5-10 minutes just while having your coffee, or I always tell this to my Muslim friends, after your subuh prayers is over, just spend 5 minutes, add on that 5 minutes extra, and thank the universe, thank the Lord on what is it that you're most grateful for. And doing this gratitude exercise on daily basis can be life changing. And I'm telling you this, and I'm going to be very vulnerable when I say this. I went through a severe depression when the pandemic hit. I was supposed to be traveling to 17 different countries in the first half of 2021 or 2020. All right, 17 countries, hardly being in Malaysia. My job is to come back to Malaysia, change my bag, get new set of clothes, and travel out again. And that came down to almost zero traveling, and like I said, speaking to multiple devices and computers. What saved my life, right, was of course one exercise that became helpful was the gratitude journaling or the gratitude jar. So every morning after my morning rituals or morning prayers, I will actually pen down what are the 3 things that I'm grateful for. And then at the end of the week, I just look back and I actually come to think of it. Yes, there is COVID. Yes, I'm stuck at home, but yes, I'm still able to get work done. I'm still able to connect with people around the world. It wasn't easy, how to use Zoom and how to click the button and how to look at the camera instead of not looking down and how to make sure the speaker works. It was stressful, but hey, I was able to survive. So, gratitude journaling can be one simple but a very, very powerful, life changing activity that we can do. To make it even more exciting, I always encourage families to try to do this as a family. Every day, the kids, the husband, the wife, everyone in the family will just write down on one small piece of paper what are they most grateful for. And each and everyone has got their own jar. After 1 month, right, have a dinner or a small gathering in the house, and then have a conversation around what the family members are all grateful for. That not only triggers good family relationships and bonding, you start spreading a lot of joy and appreciation and gratitude within the family. So that's something that you may want to really look and think about. Next is to really start appreciating ourselves rather than looking down on ourselves. Now, at least for Malaysia, I can tell you this. We have, in our space, from the upbringing all the way to the education system, and I shall not go into the blaming game, but I'll tell you that the reality is this. You can do 500 good things, nobody appreciates, but the moment you do one mistake, one tiny mistake, the world will buy the most expensive magnifying glass. They will zoom in and they'll try to pick that one tiny mistake that you did, and they will make a huge mountain out of it. All right? simply because they feel that they should focus on people's weaknesses, they should focus on the mistakes, they should focus on gaps and things that is not going well. What we would want to do is start celebrating strengths, start really appreciating our strengths, start shifting our perception to look at what we are good at rather than what we are not good at, and recognizing that we cannot be good at everything. Just to share a quick story with you, I was working in the national oil and gas company called Petronas, a Fortune 100 company in Malaysia. For 9 years, I had an amazing leader. I won't even use the word boss, who knew exactly what were my strengths: facilitating, influencing, strategizing, designing, at a framework level, at a governance level, and all that. That was my strength, and I was good at that, right? And he used me to my strengths. Working for 12 hours, 16 hours was a joy. The last 1 year, I was moved into another department together with a group of friends. And all of us who were really good as a team, and we were very strong because we knew exactly what is each another's strengths. And instead of using us to our strengths, the new leader decided to shift around. Sunil, who is good in facilitating, designing, bringing people and stakeholders together and moving them forward, was asked to sit at the back of the computer and do Microsoft Excel analysis. Somebody who hates computers, or someone who hates to be in the front and be public facing, was asked to go and do exactly what they don't like. That created a ruckus. I had a colleague who actually was suicidal, right? It became so bad where 3 out of 4 of us wanted to resign almost instantaneously. So the moral of the story is, as a leader, as a lecturer, as a management person, focus on the strengths of people. When you talk about yourself, focus on your own strengths and don't worry so much about the weaknesses. Because the traditional way of thinking has been, in order to grow, we must know what the weakness is. Then we must train you and send you for training so you will be able to become a better person. That's a very outdated way of looking at it, to be honest with you. Because if I am good at ABC, then please sharpen my ABC so I can be the best in the world for ABC. Don't try to tell me, Sunil, you are very good at ABC, please go and now learn XYZ. But I don't like XYZ. I slipped into a lot of anger and irritation when I was sent to a Microsoft Excel training, and then my boss comes and tells me, I've sent you for 10,000 ringgit training, you better be able to get all this work done. But I don't like opening Microsoft Excel, dude. You can tell me whatever you want to tell me. You can send me for $1 million training. I don't like it. I am not going to do it. You want to kick me out of the organization? Please do. And true enough, that's exactly the year when I tendered my resignation and left the organization. So the point here is to really start looking at people from the lens of strengths, from the lens of what's working well, right? So that's reflections that will build resilience, your R. And then you talk about the E, right, which is actually the emotional intelligence. And I'm sure that all of you are very familiar with it, right? A simple exercise that you can really consider doing is the emotional journaling. And I find this a very powerful exercise. When I do my executive coaching with some clients and conversations with people who are having difficulty and challenges, I tend to tell them to actually do a 1 week of daily journaling. I feel happy because, I feel sad because, these were my triggers. Well, no, so really penning down and going down to the details, right? And really being able to sort of dissect the emotions and analyze the emotions can be a very good exercise. And that will come under the positive emotions in the PERMA model. Be honest to ourselves. If we do need, you know, professional support, don't hesitate. Don't feel that, it's a taboo, right? The biggest taboo will be when we eventually end up not being okay, right? And not being able to do our best for the family, our best at work, our best for the community because we are not ourselves. So the recommendation and the invitation there is, be very honest with yourself. If you do need some well-being support or mental health support, be very open, authentic, and comfortable to seek for it. Alongside with that emotional intelligence, you need to understand that our brains actually releases a set of chemicals that can really, really help to boost our happiness. And we need to play to that, right? You have got the endorphins, which are the feel good chemicals because they can act as a pain reliever and happiness booster. You got serotonin, which is the mood stabilizer and well-being, sort of a driver. You have got dopamine, which is another chemical that really can create that excitement and that happy hormones and pleasure and satisfaction. And you have got the oxytocins, which are the neurotransmitters that will really be there when you start caring for people, giving and serving and all that stuff. And you notice by doing that, by doing these activities, like for example, regular exercise, healthy diet, yoga, meditation, laughing, helping, and living a selfless life, exposure to bright sunlight, and that's why they say morning sun is really good, right? Good sleep hygiene. I'm a good example of a person who used to probably sleep for 3 hours and used to be super proud to tell people that what nonsense is this, man? Why are you sleeping so many hours? Get work done. You can drive, you can fly, you can do so many things. With only 3-4 hours of sleep. Of course, I'm regretting my decisions now. And to be honest with you, after a couple of recent incidences, I started to become more mindful and I try to ensure I get my at least 5 to 6 hours. That too, my doctor tells me is not enough. Okay, but at least I have just doubled the number from 3 to 6, right? Social connections, friends, relatives, really building that relationship and bond. And the one thing, even at the workplace, that we should really try our level best to do, right, is actually celebrating, appreciating, and recognizing people, because that becomes extremely, extremely useful. Right? So there's a very good question here. Isn't physical well-being the first step in being happy? Definitely, I agree with you, Rajiv. Physical well-being is a step in driving personal happiness. I'm not sure if I were to say it is the first step. I would probably say it's one of the many things that we can do, because there are people who are not physically very active, but I've also noticed that there are people who are very active in doing community work, social work, and all that, and they do find that joy. But that's why if you also notice, I've also put the first one being regular exercise. So thank you very much for that, comment. Then going back to here, right? I just like to end the emotional intelligence piece by sharing this. Please let go of what people are thinking. Let's let go of perfectionism. Let's become people who are no longer in need for everything to be perfect and everything to be in order, right? Let's not make anxiety and stress our lifestyle, right? We need to start shifting and start cultivating more of authenticity, self-compassion, resilience, gratitude, joy, intuition and having faith, creativity, good rest and lots of play, being calm and having the stillness in our mind, and meaningful work, as well as lots of laughter, song, and dance. So actually letting go of all those things, all those negative things, and then creating a new lifestyle for ourselves can really help to drive that well-being. So that's the E, right? And then hang on, there's a question there. So I'll take the question, because to me, compare theory to questions, I think questions are always more exciting, as well as you can have a lot of good conversation. How do I tell myself, hey Munira, why don't you just stop thinking about others and start focusing in yourself? You see, I can't focus on myself because I feel like I might be selfish. I don't want to generalize things, but I think most mothers feel that way. By the time I try to focus on myself, I'm too exhausted. Even if I have my me time, I'll be thinking about family and all. I would love to 100% agree with you, Munira. Mothers are definitely the only being in the world who I would very confidently say are the most selfless souls, and they never think of themselves. But I just want to invite you for a moment to think about this. if you burn yourself out in this process of always doing things for others continuously without focusing on yourself, and at some point you experience a horrible burnout, a mental breakdown, a physical breakdown, who will be able to take care of the family? Who will be able to take care of the child who needs your love and your attention and your care? So sometimes, like my mentor always tells me, Prof. Dr. Suresh, it's okay to be cruel in order to be kind, which simply means it's okay for you to take that 1 or 1.5 hours away for yourself, because when you take a step back, you are way more rejuvenated and you are able to come back stronger and do more. I was one person personally, because of my passion in community work and social work and all that, I never found time for exercise. I never found much time for myself, or rather, I never have the word myself or me time never existed in my life until I got married last year. And then my wife demands that there should be something called me time, me time, me time. And because I have a puppy now, my me time is every morning when I wake up, I spend half an hour playing with the puppy at 4:30 in the morning. Right? So my humble invitation to you, Munira, is think about this carefully. Yes, you can continuously be doing things for others, and you will feel so good about it, and you will do it because you love the person so much. But there will come a time, there will be that one moment where eventually you will experience that burnout, that exhaustion, and that breakdown. So before you get to that state, and then you have to actually go on a cut-off note for a couple of weeks and couple of months, don't you think it is better that periodically you get a little bit of a space for yourself, right? And that should give you that, breather, that should give you that rejuvenation, and that should, sort of get you energized once again. So that's my thought, right? Prof. Satisha has made a very beautiful comment, or question here actually. Everyone seeks happiness and joy. How do we practice these techniques when a person is in a serious challenge in life? Most of us at some point likely face in life. For an example, incurable cancer, or serious relationship issues, or a financial crisis. Prof, you have definitely asked a very, very interesting question. And just to share with all of you, my very, very good friend, also a fellow trainer, the wife calls me last week and tells me that the person who I'm so close to, right, the husband, actually has got fourth stage cancer for the lungs. Fourth stage lung cancer, and apparently there are 4 different kind of levels of cancer, and his is the 3rd level, where not sure whether he'll pull it off or not. Now, the only thing that I'm doing on a daily basis is helping that person to not think of the problem, but to try to shift and divert the mind to something else that might be more helpful. Certain situations, like for example financial, to be honest with you, I think it's a matter of really taking a step back, discovering what exactly the person is good at, and finding means and ways to generate that little bit of extra income to manage finances, right? I think that finance part of it is something that needs to be managed, and it's possible to be managed as long as we are willing to work hard. When it comes to relationship, I think at the end of the day, relationship issue only boils down to one word. And please, I would be happy if you all, as my seniors over here, could share your thoughts and experiences as well, right? But to me, at the end of the day, what I've noticed is relationship issues will only come because of one word with 3 alphabets, and it is none other than E, G, and O. The moment you have got E, G, and O, right, immediately we find that everything becomes uncurable. Suddenly, the relationship is not recoverable. Why? Because both parties have got egos. All it takes is sincerely the intentions to make it work. The intentions to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to put my ego away. I'm going to go and apologize. I'm going to try and make this work. And see whether that becomes possible. I come from a space where I like to look at what do I really want, and why do I really, really want that, as compared to why things are not working, why don't this happen well for me, or why things are going down, right? So trying to shift our way of looking at situation from a problem focused conversation in our mind to being more solution focused conversation where you are focused on what do you really want, that could be helpful. So that's my little thoughts in terms of the question that you just asked, Prof, about relationships and financial. When you talk about cancer, and given that that friend has just experienced that, the conversations that we are having with him on a very regular basis now is to start spending time reflecting and recollecting memories of how great the life has been and what he has achieved, and spending time to really enjoy the moments of what he has left rather than worrying about what has already happened. For a few minutes, a few days, for a few hours, whatever the number or the quantum may be, it becomes a feeling where the world has collapsed. I totally can connect to that because just about 2 months ago, I had a near heart attack kind of an experience, admitted in the university hospital. And then, they did multiple tests and all that. At that moment, when the doctor first told me that, I think you're having a major heart attack, I actually felt my world collapse. I broke down crying in front of the doctor, right? So I can almost imagine the kind of emotions we'll have at that point. But if we were to slowly, come to our senses a little bit and try to really understand, okay, fine, this is a situation, and start exploring for possibilities and celebrating what has been achieved, that might be helpful. Rajiv sir have mentioned another issue in a relationship and expectation, correct? Right? Expectations, egos are all the reasons behind why this entire thing gets messed up, right? So if I could just go on to share with you a little bit more on the model very quickly, right? The S. So we are an R, E, and an S. S is stress management. Simple. Stress only comes because of expectation. Stress comes because there is a difference between the needs and the wants of individual. Last time people will be happy when they have a small car, right? A Myvi is good enough. Why? Because you want to get from point A to point B. Suddenly the neighbor buys a Honda Accord or a Honda City or a Honda Civic. I would like to get that too. Then I struggle and I work hard and I stress myself out. Then suddenly the neighbor goes and buys, or some relative goes and buys a Mercedes Benz. And, oh my God, the fellow got a Mercedes Benz. Then the wife or the husband will go and sort of instill that idea in the head. Hey, we also should get it lah. Why they can afford this? Why we cannot? So because a lot of expectations and a lot of stress happens because of things like that. A 2-bedroom house is comfortable for a family of 4, but no, they would want a house with 6 bedrooms. Not sure why, but maybe they want to play hide and seek. Then comes the question, why do you need that? Oh no, because other people got that big house, big car and all that. So I think there's a lot of these things that's going on. And I tell you, the biggest culprit in my humble opinion is the social media. Social media is really giving us a fake perception of what a good life should be. To me, a good life is not where you're going to boast and brag on social media. A good life is where people don't need to know how wonderful, how beautiful your life is. But for some reason or the other, now everything has to be publicized, and it creates a lot of stress in people's mind. So to me, don't base your happiness, on other people's life and what other people are achieving and all that, but rather focus on what you yourself would like to do. And as long as you get what you want, it should be more than enough. The P is positive psychology, which is actually the whole big picture of this, which is the mindset, the attitude, and the behavior. All right. And here, I think important part is to really start shifting how we view life. Instead of looking at life from a deficit lens, we shift our mindset, our thinking, our view of life to become more appreciative. Very briefly, I mentioned just now how to really look at life and start seeing the good in ourselves, start seeing the good in other people, and start really looking at that one good thing that the person has done and not even the 9 things that the person has done bad. I think that will really help us start shifting and shaping our mind towards looking at everything from an appreciative lens. There is enough, scientific theories and concepts to tell us that, what we think is what could happen and what will happen. This is, for example, the water theory molecule. And I guess some of you might be aware of the work by Dr. Masaru Emoto in Japan, where he just uses water molecules to prove theory of how the words and the mind and what we do, how we feel can actually create an impact. It's an example where he took polluted water from the Yodo River, and before the prayers and before all the chantings and all that, you can see how ugly and dark and ugly looking molecule it was. And then after the prayers, so he actually got a group of monks to come and do prayers and chanting and mantras and all that stuff. And you can see how the Fujiwara dam water after prayers became like a beautiful diamond and all that. Similarly, you can see all those on the left slowly shifting on the right with different things, right? Words used, mobile phone, okay, heavy metal music, the kind of music you hear, the kind of words you say. And this is true, right? And this is what Lao Tzu has said, right? Watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become action. Watch your action, they become habit. Watch your habit, they become character. Watch your character, they become destiny. So technically, everything starts from the thought. So if we go back to the appreciative and deficit mindset or the thinking process, then moving into appreciative lens and viewing life from an appreciative lens can be extremely, extremely powerful. Next, E is empathy, right? Really being there for people, really understanding people. And there's a huge difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is you feel sorry, you have to cry with them, you have to make them feel that you totally understand them. And eventually, when you do too much of sympathy, you suddenly feel you yourself drowning in that situation. So I find that sympathy is not a very interesting approach for me. I prefer being more empathic, where I understand and I see, what you are experiencing, or what I can see your world from my eyes, and I try to really understand and appreciate your feelings, and I try to be non-judgmental, and I try to really be there for you because I understand what you're experiencing, right? So empathy is one thing that can become very, very powerful. And if you go back to the PERMA model, empathy will come definitely strongly under your positive emotions, right? The S, okay? We are left with the S and the T. Just give me 5 more minutes. I should be able to wrap up. The C, right, is care and compassion. I think we need to stop beating ourselves up. Many at times we are really beating ourselves non-stop in trying to show the world that we are better than what we are. But sometimes it gets very tiring. So instead of having this big, sort of mirror in front of us, instead of putting up a facade, just be who you are. If you are that happy, cheerful, bubbly person, then so be it. And if you have certain times when you're not okay and you are feeling upset and all, then so be it, right? We need to start being ourselves. We need to start being more authentic. We need to just be who we want to be, because trying to go out there and pretend to be somebody and then coming home to bottling up all those emotions and all that would lead to things like what has happened to many of our I know Bollywood stars and Hollywood stars, where they go through depression. And I think Michael Jackson was one good example that comes to my mind at this point of time, where outside he's going out there and making all of us happy, with the beautiful songs and life and amazing life that we thought he has. But the reality was he was suffering of depression. So I think being ourselves, accepting ourselves, valuing ourselves, and don't be too hard on ourselves. And this, to me, this is something that I'm also still learning, because suddenly there is this whole perception of this is who Sunil is and this is how Sunil has been. But there are times I feel like, what, I am a normal human being and I don't want to be that, right? So why not just love me and be my friend for who I am, right? And I think the self-care part of it is also being able to master the art of saying no, right? Because the more you are able to say no, the more you are able to create time for yourself. And I think that is really the secret of trying to make ourselves better and happier. Self-care, self-compassion, of course, exercise, good food, good health, right, is definitely there. And at the end of the day, the other care for me, which has really, really helped me be happy and be where and who I am today, is honestly because I feel that my bigger purpose of life is to serve and help people. I enjoy doing that. To me, that's like drugs. if I don't do a community service program, or I'm not initiating a community project or something or the other, I feel that I'm not living a meaningful life. So to me, my purpose is to really empower and enrich lives of people, and I do that in different ways. Community programs and all that stuff. So I think that's something that we can also do, because at the end of the day, when you keep giving, remember the four different chemicals and hormones that gets released, they are also going to be contributing towards that, right? So these are some of those things that we did, and over the years it's being recorded. At the end of the day, I think what we really want to do is for us to become that drop of water that creates the positive ripple effects around us. And that we can easily do by truly being selfless and truly being giving, right? And finally is the time. This virtual world has made us suddenly feel, because we don't have to get stuck in traffic jam, because we can just eat while listening to a talk, or by have our tea time or coffee while having listen talk, we are continuously disengaged and not being able to live a more balanced life. So I think now that we are post pandemic, we should really start finding ourselves to manage time better, where there is work, there is life, there is family, there's spirituality, there is, everything is in a nice balanced will, rather than us trying to do so much in one sector or the other. And I'll be again, honest to tell you, I notice that sometimes I personally fail when it comes to time management, because sometimes I tend to spend more time in work and sometimes less time in a relationship, or less time in spiritual stuff. But I think that's a continuous improvement journey that we all need to work towards, where we strike a better balance so that the full wheel of our life becomes more holistic and balanced, right? So this, in summary, here, ladies and gentlemen, is actually the respect model: reflection, emotional intelligence, stress management, positive psychology, empathy, and care, compassion, and time management, which I thought I'd like to share with you, alongside with the PERMA model. Yeah, so the PERMA is the model, the toolkit will be sent to you, like I shared with you. And this is some of the ideas, very, very practical, easy to apply ideas on how you could actually improve your personal well being. Last but not least, respected friends, leaders, everyone here, let us all aspire to inspire before we expire. Life is too short. So let's live a meaningful and a purposeful life, and let's all be happy. Thank you and have a wonderful day.